Hello, this is John Butler from Hypnotherapy Training International. And I've been asked to say a few words, give a few pointers about motivation and how to be motivated, how to keep motivation going. We can all easily start goals. Well, some people can't, but even if we can easily run out of motivation. So, a motivation is best understood as emotivational. In other words, emotive, motives, and motivation, they're about the level of motives that you've got for doing something, how powerful those are within you. Because motivation and emotions, it's about movement. That's from the Latin word from which it all comes. Now, we need to know the motives for our goals. We need to know those from deep within so that they are profound, worthwhile goals, appropriate, healthy goals. And of course, we have ordinary everyday motivation for food, clothing, shelter, and so on. Those are important, of course, to meet those needs. And we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs and many theories about motivation in psychology. It's important for us to focus in on the key points here because this is a short talk. And if you want to learn more, please come to one of our courses and study the subject in more depth about how to set goals, how to set targets, and how to really work effectively to achieve them. So starting with the principle that we have a head and a heart, and it's our heart that really matters the most when it comes to motivation. We must start with a decision. We must know our goals, how much we want it, how much we need it, how much we're prepared to give for it. So giving service is much more important than success, because when you give service effectively, you can have success. Not just the other way around, success in terms of a lot of money or for your ego. We're talking about real value that you produce for others and the value for yourself. So knowing your values is very important here. We could spend a whole day talking about how to find your values and how to align your goals with those values. There's a formula often used in psychology: motivation equals expectancy times value. So if we have a high expectation for the goal, we're more likely to achieve it and be more motivated in the first place. And the same with if the value is high for us, even if the expectation is not so high, we can often power through and do an awful lot to achieve a high level of success towards that goal. So in psychology, within hypnotherapy, we talk a lot about the will and the imagination. So we're talking about setting the goals, making a commitment, making the decision, and that's a planning phase, followed through by implementation. Learning to be persistent, that your failures are your best learnings in many cases, and they're necessary as part of development, and they develop your character as well greatly. So we're learning mental skills of resilience, overcoming disappointment, the dark periods, the forces that work towards so-called demotivation. We must be able to step up our gears, be able to build enthusiasm, be able to kind of put that pressure on ourselves in a healthy way. In other words, burn our bridges, not through carrying out ill-conceived plans and being inflexible, but learning to not just surrender, give in when the going gets tough, because that's when real learning is often at its peak, when we're challenged, but we also have confidence. Motivation and confidence, they're very linked in many ways. Like the old saying in hypnotherapy, when a person says, "I lack confidence," they usually say with great confidence. So they're very confident, but it's pointing in the wrong direction, towards feelings of inadequacy, towards failure, expectation of failure, and so on. So the same with motivation. People often say, "I lack motivation," but frequently we find they have a high motivation to underachieve, to fail. And so I'm not here to give you a list of little techniques that will help you boost yourself temporarily, and you can go to a motivational speaker for some of that, and it can be somewhat helpful. Usually in the longer term, it doesn't stick, because we must know from within how we really are orientated, how we really are feeling about the goals that have come from deep within us, and we know their real value. If we want money, but what do we need it for? What do we really want it for? And so we're pursuing the deeper purpose or value in the goal, and being able to take that to its highest level. In other words, the money might mean security, but having money on its own doesn't make you secure, as many wealthy people will testify. So we look into these goals and values in a lot of depth. We train the mind to be able to commit to the goal. We learn the skills of visualization. You have to train yourself in that first so it can become effective. It's not just simply you visualize your goals and that's the end of it. Most people do not know how to visualize very effectively. And so it has to be trained, as I say. Imagination the same way. Superficial techniques are not enough. We want to teach you real techniques that are underpinned by deep understanding of the purpose, the limits of that technique, how to deliver it most effectively with a well-trained mind behind it. So we must work on motivation daily, writing down our goals in little lists the night before for the day, and always making sure those tasks we're doing them most efficiently, most effectively, and they're congruent with the higher goals and higher purpose, which, of course, as we say in marketing, it's always got to have SMART attached to it, specific, measurable, and so on, and other features for it to be really motivational. So if you hold your vision, if you hold to your clarity of that in specific detail, you know how to program it, which I will talk about briefly in an upcoming video as well. And that's a whole art of auto-suggestion and auto-hypnosis, so that you need to know about those, because those are the most powerful ways to activate the subconscious mind, which is the seat of the emotion from which we will really get our motivation, not just by making cognitive lists and trying to analyze our problems only on the cognitive level. If we have opposition which comes up as we're pursuing our goal, the so-called demotivation, or there's other people around us who are negative, we need to be able to deal with those effectively. In learning to counter the inner enemies of doubt and fear, our main enemies, we must work on our self-development. And it's through analytical hypnotherapy we can uncover our oppositional factors and start to address those, so that our motivation is powerful and it's not just up and down. It's not temporary. So these are just some of the key points to pursue in understanding of motivation. Each of them needs to be gone into in more depth, and each of them needs this training of the mind to be able to deliver the results. So in terms of setting plans, implementation, evaluation, achieving the goals and moving forward as well from goal to goal, these are things we teach about in our courses, where you get a chance to be immersed in deeper learning about the subject than you will often get in just opening a few books. And then you get to start practicing on yourself in a supervised environment. Thank you very much for watching and listening.